Vaudeville is a type of theater descended from variety theater, and through the 1870s and 1880s, it evolved from its earlier form of concert saloon and variety halls into its mature form. This form is often called polite vaudeville. The name vaudeville may have been derived from the French phrase voix de ville, meaning voice of the city. Vaudeville was influenced by many other types of theater that existed previously, one being burlesque, the theater for those with a more risque taste. Also circuses, which is very similar to vaudeville because they are both traveling variety acts. Also minstrel shows, which some consider to be the first purely American show. And dime shows, which some feel to be the first purely American show. Vaudeville was comprised of traveling companies that toured through towns across America. The early efforts of vaudeville was to cater variety amusements to the increasing middle-class masses. Vaudeville sprung out from an attempt to lure women into the male-dominated variety halls by Tony Pastor. In the early 1880s, Tony Pastor was a circus ringmaster, but then he became a theater manager. He wanted to capitalize on the middle class and their spending power, so he began to feature polite variety programs in several of his theaters in New York City. He hoped to draw an audience of families to the theater, so Pastor banned liquor sales in his theaters and eliminated bawdy material from his shows, and he even gave gifts of coal and hams to attendees. His efforts soon paid off, and other managers began to follow in his example. October 24th, 1881 is considered to be the day that vaudeville was officially born, because this is the day that Tony Pastor's first self-proclaimed clean vaudeville show was performed in New York City. Fun fact, Tony Pastor thought that vaudeville was a sissy and Frenchified name, and he continued to call it variety. It didn't become a common term, vaudeville, until the 20th century.
Shows went from truly talented to simply quirky acts. There were great acts in physical talent, like contortionists to tumblers and dancers. Some important examples were the piano player U.B. Blake, child star Baby Rose Marie, and the dancers, the Nicholas Brothers. Comic brothers, the Marx Brothers, Chico, Harpo, Gaucho, Gumo, Zeppo, they could play many different instruments, and some of them could sing. They were very improvisational. Benjamin Franklin Keith founded the most important circuit of theaters, later managed by E.F. Albee. Bert Laird, the Three Stooges, Albert and Costello, Kate Smith, and Judy Garland, and Rose Marie used vaudeville as a launching pad for their careers. Radio happened, vaudeville started getting smaller audiences, and theaters began to show films of vaudeville acts instead of live performances. These often featured Burt Williams, Buster Keaton, and Charlie Chaplin. Many vaudeville performers moved from vaudeville circuits to film because film had greater salaries and better working conditions. Some actors that did this include W.C. Fields, Buster Keaton, the Marx Brothers, Edgar Bergen, Jack Benny, and the Three Stooges. Many future stars were developed under the vaudeville system, like W.C. Fields, who was a juggler and comedian, Will Rogers, who was a comic and cowboy, and the famous American beauty Lillian Rose. The monologuist Charlie Case and Joe Jackson did pantomime. European music hall artists such as Sir Henry Lauder, Albert Chavir, Yvette Gilbert, all appeared in vaudeville in the United States of America. All the people listed have made great impacts on our current actors today.
Vaudeville has influenced much of modern-day theater and performers. A play that most recently received awards for its callback to vaudeville is One Man, Two Governors. Featuring strong ties with a comedy of errors and slapstick, One Man, Two Governors is a perfect example of live theater that is still influenced by vaudeville. Late-night television is where we can find entertainment most similar to the vaudeville days. With a common announcer such as Conan, Seth Meyers, or David Letterman, entertaining bits, musical guests, and a live audience, the only thing differentiating these beloved late-night shows and vaudeville is that they do not tour. Another late-night show that shares ties with vaudeville is Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live features a supporting ensemble of players that work together to create a cohesive production. While featuring a guest host every week, they still display an array of talent on a weekly basis. We have vaudeville to thank for most of our favorite entertainers and our sense of humor today.
Thank you.